What happens when a beloved chat show host comes face to face with royal entitlement gone completely off the rails? In just 36 seconds, one comment would turn a casual Friday night interview into television history's most shocking meltdown. The studio lights glowed warm over the famous red couch. Graham Norton sat with that familiar twinkle in his eye, ready for another evening of witty banter and celebrity stories. The audience buzzed with excitement. Prince Harry walked onto the set wearing jeans and a casual blazer, waving to the crowd with what seemed like confidence, but carried something else underneath, something waiting to surface. Graham stood to greet him, extending his hand with genuine warmth. "Welcome, welcome. So lovely to have you here tonight." Harry shook his hand, but his grip was firm, almost too firm. "Good to be here, Graham. Though I must say, I expected a slightly better seat. This couch has seen better days, hasn't it?" The audience laughed nervously, unsure if this was humor or something more pointed. Graham, ever the professional, smiled and gestured for Harry to sit. "Well, this couch has held some of the biggest names in entertainment. I think it's doing just fine." They settled in, and Graham launched into his opening questions with his signature charm. "So, you've been quite busy lately. Tell us what you've been up to." Harry leaned back, spreading his arms across the top of the couch in a posture that seemed to claim the entire space. "Well, Graham, I've been doing the work that actually matters. Real work. Not just sitting around asking questions for a living." The studio fell quiet. You could hear the tension crackling through the air like electricity before a storm. Graham's smile held, but his eyes showed a flicker of surprise. "I see. Well, some of us enjoy our jobs quite thoroughly, actually. And the millions who tune in seem to enjoy them too." Harry scoffed, an actual audible scoff that the microphones picked up perfectly. Millions of people watch all sorts of rubbish, don't they? Doesn't make it important. Graham shifted in his seat, maintaining his composure with the skill of someone who'd handled difficult guests before. But this was different. This wasn't a nervous celebrity or an eccentric artist. This was calculated rudeness. "Right then, let's talk about your recent projects. You've been involved in various initiatives." "Initiatives that mean something?" Harry interrupted, leaning forward now, his voice taking on an edge. "Not like this manufactured entertainment nonsense. Do you ever think about the fact that you're just a distraction? That what you do contributes nothing of real value to society?" The audience gasped. Several people shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Graham's co-star for the evening, a well-known actress sitting beside Harry, looked absolutely mortified. She tried to catch Graham's eye, silently offering support. Graham took a breath, his professionalism being tested in real time. "I think entertainment has tremendous value, actually. It brings people together. It provides joy and escape and connection. That's not nothing." Harry laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. "Of course you'd say that. You have to justify how you spend your days, don't you? Meanwhile, some of us are trying to make actual change in the world." "And that's admirable," Graham said, his voice still controlled, but now carrying a firmness that hadn't been there before. "But diminishing other people's work doesn't make yours more important. It just makes you sound rather unpleasant, if I'm being honest." The audience erupted in applause, surprising even themselves. It was a rare moment when a host stood up to a guest so directly, and they were here for it. Harry's face flushed red. "Unpleasant? You're calling me unpleasant? Do you have any idea who you're speaking to?" "I'm speaking to a guest on my show who seems to have forgotten his manners," Graham replied, his Irish lilt becoming more pronounced as his patience wore thin. "And yes, I know exactly who you are, but that doesn't give you the right to insult me or what I do." Harry stood abruptly, towering over Graham, who remained seated, refusing to be intimidated. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. No respect, no understanding of hierarchy or importance. You're just another talk show host, Graham. Replaceable, forgettable." The actress beside them looked like she wanted to disappear into the couch cushions. Graham stood now too, matching Harry's energy, but with controlled dignity. Perhaps to you, but to the people who work on this show, who pour their hearts into making it, who find joy in what we create together, I'd like to think we're a bit more than that. Oh, please, Harry spat out the words like they tasted bitter. Spare me the sentimental speech. You want to know what I really think? I think shows like this are exactly what's wrong with modern culture. Shallow, vapid, celebrating mediocrity. Graham's expression hardened. His humor had been a shield, but now that shield was down. You know what I think. I think you came here tonight with an agenda. You didn't come for a conversation. You came to make yourself feel superior by tearing someone else down. And that says far more about you than it does about me or this show. Harry stepped closer, invading Graham's space in a way that felt aggressive. I came here because my team said it would be good publicity, but clearly this was a waste of my time. Your questions are boring. Your format is stale. And frankly, you're out of your depth trying to interview someone like me. The studio had gone completely silent. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was a genuine confrontation, unfolding in real time. Graham stood his ground, not backing away, even an inch. Someone like you? What does that mean exactly? Someone who thinks common courtesy doesn't apply to them? Someone so wrapped up in their own importance that they can't see how they're behaving? I'm behaving like someone who doesn't have time for this second-rate television drivel, Harry shot back, his voice rising. You know what your problem is, Graham? You're afraid. Afraid that deep down, you know what you do doesn't matter. So you hide behind jokes and laughter and celebrity gossip because you can't handle anything real. Graham's jaw tightened. Real? You want real? Here's what's real. You've spent the last 15 minutes insulting me, my work, my staff, and everyone who enjoys this show. You've been condescending, arrogant, and frankly, quite cruel. And you've done it while sitting on that couch you mocked, under these lights you dismissed, in front of this audience you clearly think is beneath you. Harry's face was now fully red, his composure completely shattered. How dare you speak to me this way? Do you understand what I could do? One word from me and your little show could face serious consequences. The threat hung in the air like poison. Graham's eyes widened, not with fear, but with disbelief. Are you actually threatening me right now? On my own show? In front of all these witnesses? I'm telling you the reality of the situation, Harry said, his voice low and menacing. You need to remember your place. Graham shook his head slowly, something between sadness and anger crossing his features. My place is right here, on this stage, doing what I love with people I respect. And I'll tell you something. I've interviewed hundreds of guests over the years. Royals, presidents, Oscar winners, legends, and not one of them, not a single one, has ever spoken to me the way you have tonight. Maybe they were too intimidated to tell you the truth, Harry sneered. Or maybe they had something you seem to lack, Graham replied quietly. Basic human decency. Harry's hand shot out, finger pointing directly at Graham's face. You don't get to judge me. You have no idea what I've been through, what I've dealt with, the pressures I face every single day. Graham didn't flinch from the pointing finger. You're absolutely right. I don't know what that's like, but I do know that whatever you've been through doesn't excuse treating people poorly. Pain doesn't give you permission to inflict pain on others. Oh, now you're a philosopher, Harry mocked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. What's next? Going to tell me everything happens for a reason? Going to give me some cheap advice you read in a self-help book? I'm going to tell you that you need to leave, Graham said, his voice steady and final. I've tried to be patient. I've tried to steer this conversation back to something productive. But you're not interested in that. You're interested in conflict, and I won't give you that platform. Harry's eyes went wide with shock. You're kicking me off? You can't kick me off. Do you have any concept of the scandal this will cause? I'm very aware, Graham said, calmly. And I'm still asking you to leave. This is my show. These are my colleagues. This is my audience. And I won't let you disrespect any of us for another second. The actress on the couch looked between them, clearly wanting to intervene, but not knowing how. The audience sat frozen, watching this unprecedented moment unfold. Harry laughed again, that same unpleasant sound. This is unbelievable. You're actually serious. You're going to create an international incident because your feelings got hurt? This isn't about hurt feelings, Graham corrected him. This is about standards, about how we treat each other. You've crossed every line tonight, multiple times, and I'm done pretending that's acceptable just because of who you are. Who I am is the only reason anyone watches this garbage show anyway, Harry shouted, losing all remaining composure. Without guests like me, you're nothing. Just another Irish comedian who got lucky. The audience gasped again, louder this time. Some people actually booed. Graham's face remained calm, but his eyes showed the hurt those words caused. And there it is. The real you. Not the charity spokesman, not the mental health advocate. Just someone who thinks their birth gives them the right to demean others. Harry stepped even closer, his face inches from Graham's now. You want to see the real me? The real me is someone who's had enough of people like you profiting off my family's pain. Enough of vultures picking at our trauma for ratings. I've never done that, Graham said firmly. Every question I've asked you tonight has been respectful. I invited you here in good faith, and you've repaid that with nothing but contempt. Good faith, Harry scoffed. You invited me here because my name brings viewers. Let's not pretend this was some noble gesture. You're just like all the rest of them. Using me. Graham took a step back, creating space between them. I invited you because I thought you might have something interesting to share. I thought we could have a genuine conversation. I was wrong. Security, please. 2 security guards appeared from the wings, moving quickly, but not aggressively toward Harry. The prince looked at them with utter disbelief. You're actually doing this. You're actually having me removed. I am, Graham confirmed, and I don't take this decision lightly. But you've left me no choice. You can't treat people this way and expect them to just accept it. Harry looked around wildly, as if expecting someone to intervene on his behalf. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. You realize this will be everywhere tomorrow? Every newspaper, every website, every news channel. Let it be, Graham said quietly. I'll take whatever comes. But I won't compromise my integrity or the dignity of this show to avoid it. The security guards gently took Harry's arms, not roughly, but firmly enough to guide him. Harry jerked away from them. Don't touch me. I'll walk myself out. I don't need your help. He stormed toward the exit, then stopped and turned back one last time. You'll regret this, Graham. I promise you that. Graham stood straight, his voice unwavering. The only thing I regret is not ending this sooner. I'm sorry to my audience. I'm sorry to my guest here beside me who had to witness this. And I'm sorry to everyone watching at home who tuned in for entertainment and got this instead. But I'm not sorry for standing up for myself and for this show. Harry stared at him for a long moment, perhaps expecting Graham to back down. When he didn't, the prince shook his head in disgust. This isn't over. Yes, Graham said softly. It is. Harry turned and strode out, his footsteps echoing in the now silent studio. The moment he disappeared through the exit, the audience erupted. Not in polite applause, but in thunderous, standing ovation. They weren't just supporting Graham. They were celebrating him. Graham stood there, clearly shaken, but trying to maintain composure. His hands trembled slightly as he ran one through his hair. The actress on the couch stood and came to his side, putting a comforting hand on his shoulder. Well, Graham said, his voice a bit unsteady as he turned to address the audience. That was not how I saw this evening going. Laughter rippled through the crowd, warm and supportive. Someone shouted, "We love you, Graham!" Others joined in with their own expressions of support. Graham blinked rapidly, fighting back emotion. Thank you, truly. I apologize that you all had to see that. This show is meant to be fun, lighthearted, a place where people can relax and be themselves. What just happened goes against everything we stand for here. The actress spoke up, her voice clear and supportive. You handled that with incredible grace, Graham. Don't apologize. You did what needed to be done. Graham smiled at her gratefully. I appreciate that. I really do. He turned back to the audience. You know, in all my years doing this show, I've never had to ask someone to leave. Not once. I've always believed that everyone deserves respect and patience. But respect is a two-way street. And tonight that street became a dead end. More applause from the audience. Someone whistled in support. Graham's smile became more genuine, the shock starting to wear off. The thing is, I don't believe in using my platform to tear people down. That's not who I am. That's not what this show is about. But I also can't stand by while someone treats others poorly, regardless of who they are or what titles they hold. The actress nodded emphatically. Absolutely. What you just did took real courage, Graham. Standing up to someone like that, with all that power and influence. That's not easy. It shouldn't have to be courage to ask for basic decency, Graham replied. That should just be the baseline expectation. We're all human beings. We all deserve to be treated with kindness and consideration. Fame doesn't change that. Status doesn't change that. Nothing changes that fundamental truth. The audience clapped again, longer this time. Graham looked around at all the faces looking back at him with such warmth and support. His eyes grew misty. You lot are too kind. Honestly, I'm just trying to do my job and do it with integrity. That's all I've ever wanted. And you do, someone called out from the audience. Others murmured agreement. Graham laughed, a real laugh this time, releasing some of the tension. Well, I certainly earned my paycheck tonight, didn't I? My producer is backstage either having a heart attack or celebrating the ratings this will bring. Possibly both. That got genuine laughter from everyone. The atmosphere in the studio began to shift, the heaviness lifting gradually. Graham looked at the actress beside him. I am so sorry you had to sit through that. This was supposed to be a lovely evening talking about your brilliant new film, and instead, you got a front row seat to that disaster. She waved off his apology. Please, don't apologize to me. I'm just glad I was here to witness you standing up for yourself. That's something people need to see more of. Too often we let bad behavior slide because we're afraid of making waves or causing problems. You didn't do that. You drew a line. I had to, Graham said simply. Not just for me, but for my team. The people who work on this show are like family. They pour their hearts into making something special every single week. And to hear someone dismiss all of that, call it worthless, call it meaningless, I couldn't let that stand. The studio crew, normally invisible behind cameras and lights, began applauding from their positions. Graham looked around at them, clearly moved. See? These people, these brilliant, talented, hardworking people, they're the real stars of this show, not me. And certainly not guests who think they're too important to show basic respect. A camera operator called out, "We've got your back, Graham." Others echoed the sentiment. Graham pressed his hand to his chest, genuinely touched. Thank you, all of you. This has been one of the strangest nights of my career, but knowing I have your support means everything. The actress spoke again, addressing the audience this time. Can I just say something? What we witnessed tonight is unfortunately not uncommon behind closed doors. People in positions of power often treat those they consider beneath them with contempt. The difference is, usually nobody sees it. Usually it's just whispered about later. But this happened in the open. And Graham's response, his refusal to accept that treatment, that's the example we need. The audience applauded her words. Graham looked at her with appreciation. That's very generous of you to say. Honestly, I was just acting on instinct. When someone crosses certain lines, you can't ignore it. You can't normalize it by letting it continue. Even if speaking up is uncomfortable, even if it causes problems, some things are more important than avoiding conflict. Like self-respect, the actress added. Like dignity. Exactly, Graham agreed. And look, I understand that everyone has bad days. Everyone struggles sometimes. But that doesn't mean we get to take those struggles out on innocent people. That's not how we should treat each other. The audience had settled into a thoughtful quiet, listening intently to every word. Graham continued, his voice carrying the weight of genuine conviction. I've had the privilege of meeting extraordinary people through this show, people who've achieved incredible things. And do you know what the truly great ones have in common? Humility, kindness. They lift others up rather than putting them down. They understand that success isn't measured by how far above others you can climb, but by how many people you can bring along with you. Someone in the audience called out, "That's you, Graham." Others agreed vocally. Graham smiled, wiping at his eyes. Now, you're going to make me cry on television. My mascara will run. Laughter filled the studio again. The warm kind that comes from affection rather than mere humor. Graham took a deep breath, composing himself. Right then. We've still got a show to do, don't we? And we have this wonderful actress here who's been incredibly patient, while I've been having what can only be described as a moment. The actress grinned. Take all the moments you need. This has been far more interesting than most interviews I do. Well, that's one way to look at it, Graham chuckled. Though I'd prefer our interesting moments to involve funny anecdotes and clever banter rather than, well, whatever that was. They settled back onto the couch, and Graham visibly shifted gears, calling upon his years of experience to transition the show back to its intended purpose. So, before we were so dramatically interrupted, we were going to talk about your new film, which I've seen, and it's absolutely brilliant. The actress beamed. Thank you. I'm so proud of it. And just like that, Graham Norton did what he did best. He moved forward. He brought the focus back to celebration and joy and genuine conversation. The audience watched in admiration as he proved that his grace under pressure extended beyond confrontation into recovery. He didn't dwell on the drama. He didn't milk it for attention. He simply returned to being the host everyone loved. Throughout the rest of the interview, there was a new energy in the studio, a sense of solidarity. Everyone present had witnessed something remarkable, not because of the conflict itself, but because of how it was handled. They'd seen someone stand up for themselves and others with dignity and tact. They'd seen that it's possible to be firm without being cruel, to set boundaries without losing your composure completely. As the show continued, Graham occasionally caught the eyes of audience members who would smile at him with newfound respect and affection. Each time, he'd smile back, a quiet acknowledgement passing between them. They'd all been through something together, a shared experience that none of them would forget. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment of the remainder of the show. What could have been a complete disaster had transformed into something else entirely. A testament to professionalism, a lesson in standing up for what's right, a demonstration that fame and titles don't exempt anyone from basic standards of human decency. When the show finally wrapped, as the credits began to roll and the audience started to file out, many of them approached the stage, not for autographs or selfies, but to shake Graham's hand, to thank him, to tell him he'd done the right thing. He stood there, still in slight disbelief at how the evening had unfolded, graciously accepting their kind words. The actress waited nearby, and when the last audience member had left, she turned to Graham. "That was extraordinary. Truly, the way you handled that will inspire a lot of people." Graham shrugged modestly. "I just did what felt right in the moment. Though I'll admit, my heart is still racing." "Mine too," she laughed. "I've never seen anything like that on a talk show before." "But you know what struck me most? You never lost your temper. You were firm, you were clear, but you never descended to his level." "What would be the point?" Graham asked. "Fighting fire with fire just makes a bigger fire. Someone had to be the adult in that situation." She nodded thoughtfully. "The world needs more of that. More people willing to stand up without tearing down. More people who understand that strength doesn't require cruelty." Graham smiled tiredly. "Well, I'm just grateful it's over. Though I suspect the real storm is just beginning when this airs and people start talking about it." "Let them talk," she said confidently. "Anyone who watches what happened will see exactly who was in the right. You have nothing to worry about." As the studio lights dimmed and the crew began breaking down the set, Graham stood there for a moment, taking it all in. The red couch, where it had all unfolded. The stage that had been his home for so many years. The space where thousands of conversations had happened, almost all of them joyful and warm and exactly what television should be. Tonight had been different. Tonight had been difficult. But tonight had also been necessary. And as Graham finally left the studio, heading out into the night, he carried with him the knowledge that he'd stood up not just for himself, but for every person who'd ever been made to feel small by someone who thought themselves too important to be kind. The show would go on. It always did. But this night, this particular Friday evening, would be remembered. Not because of who had been removed, but because of who had remained. Standing tall, standing firm, standing for something that mattered far more than ratings or fame or titles, standing for basic human dignity.